As we've mentioned a few times, this Saturday, the fourth nominating contest of this primary season is going to occur in the great state of South Carolina. Now, in the last three, Bernie Sanders was really the man to beat. But for months, Vice President Joe Biden has all but claimed victory in the Palmetto State.
Joining us now to give us predictions for the South Carolina primary is great friend of the show and founder of the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur. Cenk, it's great to see you.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so Joe Biden, he's declared he will win South Carolina. Let's take a listen to that sound and we'll get your reaction.
But folks, I intend to win South Carolina, and I will win the African-American vote here in South Carolina.
Mr. Biden, will you continue if you do not win South Carolina? You have said that South Carolina will determine the outcome of this presidential race. If you don't win South Carolina, will you continue in this race?
I will win South Carolina.
All right, sir.
That's a bold prediction, Cenk. Do you think he's right?
So the polling's a little bit all over the place. He seems to have an advantage in the polling at this point. It used to be a much, much bigger advantage. It's now a much smaller advantage, so he's in danger of losing it. But there's a couple of things here. First of all, now he's set it up so that if he doesn't win South Carolina, it's over. He's done. Does he drop out by Super Tuesday? Well, that's only a couple days later. So maybe, I guess. So he's in bad shape. If he winds up winning, and he's also set up the expectation that he has to win now by a lot. So I see cable news talking about that. That's not a good expectation for Joe Biden to have. Joe Biden has never won a state in any primary he's ever run in 32 years of running for president. In fact, when he got slaughtered in Nevada by 34 points, it was his best showing ever running for president. I'm serious. He came in, as Joe Biden would say, no joke, no malarkey.
Yeah,
no malarkey.
Yeah, no malarkey.
Because he came in second. It was the first time he's come in higher than fourth anytime he's ever run for president in any state.
Yeah.
So if he doesn't win South Carolina, he's done. But I can't believe I'm watching the same debates as everybody else. Biden, again, looked lost and angry out there. I thought for sure that he was going to yell at someone to get off his lawn.
Right.
And then cable news hosts come out there like, Joe Biden won. What?
The bar has been set unimaginably low. Now, in fairness to Joe Biden, he did accurately predict his terrible finish in New Hampshire. So, his predictive powers have been fairly spot on to this point.
True.
I think the bigger question is, I think your point about the expectations game is really interesting and something I hadn't fully thought through, because on one level, the expectations game is stupid. People should just be judged by their performance. On the other hand, as people who do cable news often, we know that it's very real. So there could have been a narrative, judging by the polling going into South Carolina, that this is very much up for grabs, that Bernie Sanders is surging, he's closing the gap, and he's got a real good shot at winning. That's not the narrative going in. The narrative going in is very much Joe Biden is expected to win the state. So with that being the case, if he ekes out a small couple of point win here, does he really get much out of it?
Yeah, he's certainly set himself up to be in a bad situation. On the other hand, though, Crystal, the bar is always impossibly high for Bernie Sanders. So that none of them thought he would win any of the states. Now he's won the first three. And last night on CNN, Bakari Sellers saying, winning the first three doesn't matter at all. Really? Really? We've been doing this for a year, talking about the first couple of states, and now all of a sudden that Bernie won them, they don't matter? And if Bernie wins South Carolina, this race is pretty much over. Do you think anybody on cable will say that? There'll be some panic. They'll be talking, getting dragged to Central Park. There'll be tears, and that'll be great. But overall, they'll say, well, the thing is about the African-American vote in South Carolina, it really doesn't matter. You think they won't change on a dime? They'll change on a dime if Bernie wins.
Right, and that's the thing, Cenk. I mean, I turned on Morning Joe this morning. I saw Robert Gibbs, chief spokesperson for the McDonald's Corporation, of course, breaking down what's going on in the Democratic debate. I guess that's the great question. How do they deal with this? Is that because you're right? If Sanders wins South Carolina, complete game over. What are the last grasps that we can still see from them if we want to put ourselves in the cable mindset?
Yeah, the way that anybody but Bernie would have a chance is Biden wins South Carolina. They go into Super Tuesday 3 days later. Biden ekes out a victory in Texas and some southern states. Maybe Bloomberg wins one or two states. I doubt it, but we're coming up with a scenario that's less likely, but puts them in the ball game. Okay, then, you come out of Super Tuesday with Biden having a bunch of delegates, Bloomberg having some, and Bernie Sanders having the most. But it's a ball game. And then at that point, likely Klobuchar, Buttigieg, Warren, et cetera, are out. Steyer's out. So then you got Bernie versus either just Biden or just Bloomberg, or the three of them together. But I like every one of those scenarios. I love the head-to-head matchups. I love Biden and Bloomberg taking each other's votes. Even in these so-called bad case scenarios for Bernie, it ain't that bad.
Yeah. I did want to ask you, as my fellow MSNBC veteran, what you have made of the network's coverage over there. And in particular, we covered the fact that for the first time ever, to my knowledge, they actually came out, they made Chris Matthews apologize to Bernie Sanders for comparing his Nevada victory to the Nazi takeover of France, right? He had to apologize. What does that signal to you? There was also this reporting that at least they're, making some, they're talking about bringing in some more friendly to Bernie voices on the network. Do you think anything will fundamentally change over there? Do you think that this is kind of a shift in their coverage? What did you make of that?
It's amazing how people adjust to power. Chris Matthews apologizing to Bernie Sanders is a bit of a watershed moment, because it's the first time that Leviathan has acknowledged progressives. It has turned its head and went, oh, there they are. Okay, fine. I guess you have a little bit of power. It seems unbelievable. Okay, fine. I won't call you Nazis anymore. Like, whoa, isn't that amazing? That's like a moment progressives have been dreaming about, when in reality, according to the polling, we're 2/3 of the country. I know cable news hosts let your heads explode. It's a reality. If you look at issue by issue, we're 2/3 of the country. And for the first time ever on cable news, they said, fine, I guess we shouldn't compare 2/3 of the country to Nazis. So that's our big win. Yay!
Congrats, everybody.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Cenk. Always great to have you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
Coming up, we're going to get news from the ground in South Carolina. Democratic strategist and friend of the show, Michael Starr Hopkins, is going to join us. That's next.